what got you into activism? What got you into, was it your family? Break that down to me.
My parents are activists, very involved in the movement. I believe, you know, a little bit before I was born, which was in 1980, they really committed themselves. You know, they had moved here from the South. They met in New York, and they committed to being in the movement. And that for us meant everything. You name it, we were in it. Going to the Nation of Islam, we went to the mosque, we went to the community precinct meetings, we went to any kind of Black empowerment space that existed. I grew up in Manhattanville projects in Harlem. So the front, hey Ruben Diaz, the front of my housing projects was where all the Black folks were, and behind the building was where all of the Latino folks were. So it was all around Black and brown folks, and my parents were really involved in helping people on both sides. And so, you know, it was my parents' movement. I did what they said because there was no choice. It's very similar to going to church. You know, if they say you got to go to church.
They work with Reverend now. They work with
yeah,
Reverend
right,
too, right?
right. And so it was like going to how people in families where church is important, you have to go every Sunday. There's no option. That's how going to rallies and Sharpton's organization, that's how it was for me. But then I guess I got older. I did a lot of running away from home, got in a lot of trouble. And I started dating a guy who is my son's father. He was murdered 20 years ago now, or 19 years ago now. And at that time, you know, after he was killed, I think that's when I just started to own it. Like, I understood what my parents had been talking about. It sort of all clicked for me, because that tragedy is what really pushes most people to be like, this is my thing, I'm in it. And so it became my movement at the point that my son's father was shot twice. He was left in a ditch for 2 weeks before he was discovered. Shout out to Jason Ryans is his name. Let me call his name. Jason.
You know, I lost a lot of friends. I've been shot at myself over 30 times in my life. So I know what you're talking about. I've dealt with tons of police brutality, tons of police harassment. I wasn't a good kid either. I was in the streets. I was wilding. Some of it I deserved. And when I think of people like you, I think of people who speak for the voiceless. You know, for the kid who's in the project right now getting harassed by some cops, and they think nobody's gonna find out about it.
That's right.
And that's what's so beautiful about it, because, you know, everybody thinks God ain't watching, but he's watching. Definitely
watching. Definitely.
You know
I'm so glad you brought up God. That's when I'm talking. Don't get me. I might have to jump up and do a little shout, a little dance.
God is everything, because if you know why, if you don't have faith, you ain't got nothing. You know what I'm saying?
Puff, I told Puff yesterday, I was like, yo, that post that you put up about, it was this weekend, if God ain't in it, I don't want it. That's it right there. If he ain't in it, I don't have nothing to do with it.
Everybody has their own relationship with God. Everybody has their own way of communicating with God. But, you know, I know he's too real. So with me, I believe that we fight for everything, but we also have a little bit of luck of God on our side. Let me ask you a question, right? So every time we see a white guy or any police officer kill a Black or brown person, we take it to the streets, we get excited. Has there ever been a plan? Has there ever been something that's been planned so we can stop Black on Black crime or brown on brown crime? Like, is there an answer to stopping this? Has anybody sat down, like you got 30 people from out of town in Kentucky, to say, you know what? We have to go in Chicago. We have to go in New York. We have to talk to these gangs. We have, like, has anything ever been created to do that?
So you know very well Erica Ford, A.T. Mitchell, Shanduke McFadden, Ife Charles, Aisha Say Cool, Reverend Vernon Williams, my son. And we're talking local. I'm just talking about in New York. Those are people who do anti-violence work every day. And in their target markets, Joe, in Erica's community, in where Man Up is, and other places, violence until this spike happened with the unemployment, the COVID, people locked in their house, mental health, all the stuff that's been going on, violence in their communities was down, way down. I'm talking about almost non-existence in some places. The city is touting. New York is saying that we are the most safe city in the U.S., right? Large city, big city. We're the safest. Well, they tout that because of the work of something that we created in New York called the crisis management system. But what we know is that poverty is violence. I see my sister Leslie Redmond say that. So if you have poor people, under-resourced people in any particular community, you're going to have violence. And that's why defunding the police is a part of the process that you just asked. Has anybody sat down and thought about it? Well, that's one of the components. We think about it every day. There's people doing real work out here. And the way that the crisis management system exists is that it employs people who are previous shooters, people who have been in and out of the system, people who know the streets, and they go and they do real work. That's real intervention work. And that's what we're talking about funding. And so we have many of the locations for crisis management in New York, which what helps to keep the city safe. But we're looking for more resources to expand that work, to make sure, and it's also happening all across the country, but it's not sexy. And why would law enforcement or even the media want to show a grassroots organization that's stopping violence in a few blocks when they really want to focus on making the community look terrible so they can put more enforcement, so they can gentrify and take your shit away and say it's in the name of safety? And that's why Until Freedom, the organization that my son and I co-founded along with attorney Angelo Pinto and Linda Sarsour, the reason why we started this is we believe that the people who are most impacted have to be at the heart of the work for the solutions, that they know better than those of us who live in our places far away from the hood. We show up to help, but we have to listen to their voices. But today we decided that the place we were going to start was in the hood, because we need to go, don't put it on social media and think our people are going to know. Back to the old school canvassing, go talk to Black and brown folks, explain to them what's going on, and invite them personally to join the movement.